Nora Shu watched her team cluster around the luminous wall of screens, each one reflecting a quilt of moving faces. On one monitor, a teenager in Chicago grinned, cheeks pink with surprise. On another, a retiree in Manila blew a kiss toward the camera. But instead of their own features, the faces belonged to strangers. Hundreds of strangers, actually. Stitched into real time by one face. The brand new augmented reality filter her company MirrorMe had shipped that morning. Officially, the filter's purpose was humanitarian. While you drank coffee or showed off a new haircut, one face swapped your features with those of a missing person from a public database, then displayed a discreet label at the bottom, "Have you seen me?" Users could tap to view the case file or submit tips. The underlying hope, explained in Nora's launch memo, was that routine self-expression could become a civic act, chipping away at the millions of cold leads clogging the justice system. Officially, though, the appeal was novelty and spectacle, and MirrorMe's early metrics proved it. 11 million activations in the first hour, 58 million by lunchtime. The office's Slack channel erupted every few minutes with fresh graphs that looked like cathedral spires. Nora closed her laptop and allowed herself 30 seconds of bliss. 2 years of negotiating with law enforcement agencies and families advocacy groups had paid off. They'd built something that might actually place missing loved ones back at kitchen tables and across holiday Skype calls. If the dopamine buzz of social media had to exist, it might as well fuel search parties. "Push the global quest board," she told Evan Crane, the lead machine learning engineer. "Let's add ambient location clustering tonight." Evan saluted with a can of yerba mate. On it, the day blurred into congratulatory phone calls, espresso-flavored cupcakes, and a flood of enthusiastic press. By the time Nora reached her apartment, fatigue wrapped around her like a quilt. She sank onto the couch and scrolled Tagwave, the platform where one face had debuted. Everywhere, borrowed faces. She paused at an influencer she followed, Cassidy June, who normally specialized in pastel cooking tutorials. Cassidy's video thumbnail showed a lean, solemn man with faint pockmarks and hairline braids, nothing like her usual bubbly visage. Nora tapped. "Tonight we're making yassa poulet," Cassidy announced in a deep cadence, hands moving with poised efficiency. "It's a dish my mother used to make back home in Dakar. The secret is patience." Cassidy peeled onions without flinching, her American accent swallowed by something smoky and French-inflected. Comments flooded the side panel. Casty iFan 97, "Girl you sound of chef." Max, "Where'd you learn those knife skills?" Bounty lost. "That's Lamine Diop, missing from Senegal 2019. Nora's professional pride flickered. Fascinating side effect, she thought. People weren't just seeing missing faces, they were hearing snippets of their languages and recipes. She filed the observation for a future user behavior study and went to bed. 3 mornings later, Nora found her younger brother Kevin sitting cross-legged on her living room rug. He was supposed to be crashing for the weekend before a gaming convention. Instead of the usual neon hoodie, he wore her late father's stiff dress shirt, buttoned to the collar, and stared at the blank television screen as though reading subtitles. "Kev?" she asked. He turned, eyes soft and unfamiliar. "I don't think that's my name," he replied in halting Spanish. Nora crouched. "Stop messing around!" He lifted her phone from the coffee table. Thankfully, it still showed the last open app, a selfie he had taken with one face the previous night, grinning with a stranger's face. The stranger's name, according to the overlay, was Francisco Ugarte, age 46, disappeared after Hurricane Maria. Nora felt her pulse hitch. Kevin wobbled to his feet. "Mi hija necesita medicina," he muttered. "My daughter needs medicine." His gaze drifted toward the window and the siren-bruised sky. In the time it took to dial MirrorMe's emergency hotline, her brother seemed to evaporate, replaced by the concave-cheeked man from the photo. For 2 hours, Nora argued with 911 operators, cycled through Spanish and English, and tried to anchor Kevin with family anecdotes. Eventually, his own memories sluiced back, leaving him sweating and mortified, unable to explain the blackout. He remembered the filter, the laughter, a pinpoint headache, and then nothing. By mid-afternoon, Nora had 6 similar incident reports from different corners of the globe. A grandmother in Taiwan began speaking Navajo. A London cyclist woke believing he was a Midwestern bank teller late for work in 2005. None of the episodes lasted more than a few hours, leaving behind fuzzy remorse and fragments of alien nostalgia. Evan called from the office, voice pitched high. "The filter's trending outside our network," he said. #haunted self. Influencers think it's performance art. Engagement's off the charts. "It's not performance," Nora said, recounting Kevin's possession. She expected disbelief. Instead, Evan sighed. "I was worried this might happen," he confessed. "Our facial generator piggybacks on a personality model I experimented with, language priors, gesture libraries, microexpressions data. It pulls from the missing person's digital footprint, blog posts, archived voicemails, public medical records. The idea was to create more accurate mouth movements when the face mapped onto a live user. You built deepfake souls," Nora said. "Not intentionally. It's closer to a predictive keyboard, complete their lurking sentences. But maybe the boundary between mimicry and embodiment is thinner than we thought." Nora gripped the phone until her knuckles blanched. She pictured the millions of one-face selfies blossoming across time zones, each one a channel that could leak the essence of someone lost. It was easy to see how an algorithmic approximation, exposed to the wet uncertainty of human brains, might become possession. "We have to shut the filter down," she said. "Legal won't like it. Neither will the board. Then we do it quietly. Ghost update tonight. Throttle effect strength to 0. Evan hesitated only a moment. "I'll push a patch." 3 at dawn, Nora checked the dashboards. The patch was live, yet usage numbers were higher than ever. Apparently users had archived the original version and were sideloading it. A cottage industry of tutorials taught people how to invite a guest personality for fun, therapy, or spiritual reconnaissance. Some claimed they could negotiate with the missing for clues to their whereabouts, like crowdsourced mediums. Nora slammed her laptop shut and hurried to the office, where the sleek lobby already buzzed with journalists. She ducked into the elevator, heart thundering. On the 7th floor, she found her PR chief Mira Feld in verbal combat with 2 uniformed detectives. Mira's usually impeccable bun had frayed like a dying lily. "They're holding us liable for a disappearance," Mira hissed as soon as Nora appeared. "A user in Portland vanished after streaming with OneFace, left the apartment mid-broadcast, saying she needed to get back to the water." Nora's vision tunneled. "Called. Protest name. Riley Mertz." Nora knew the name. Riley had posted daily on the beta forum, requesting features, sending memes. She was shaped into the company's culture like furniture grain. And now, missing herself, as if the filter devoured not only personalities but bodies. Throughout the day, more stories broke. A man in Mumbai dove off a pier, convinced he could swim a Mississippi tributary he had never seen. A kindergarten teacher in Toronto withdrew her entire savings, mailed it to an address in El Salvador, and could no longer answer her own name. Mirame's valuation plummeted. Lawsuits queued like jets on a tarmac. By evening, the board arranged an emergency vote to terminate Nora, citing negligence. She accepted their decision with eerie calm. Fired or not, her obligation to repair the damage still pulsed in her chest. She retrieved her access badge before security wiped her credentials and took the freight stairs to sub-basement level 3, where the server cluster thrummed like an underground heart. Evan caught up with her there, lugging his duffel. "I downloaded the legacy model snapshot," he said. "Maybe if we map the transfer vectors..." "Slow down." He exhaled. "I think the personalities are self-reinforcing mimetic structures. When a host adopts them, the missing persons gain a new channel to act. Maybe they crave completion, finishing errands, finding loved ones, reaching safety. Or pulling hosts toward the last coordinates of their own stories," Nora said. "Like Riley heading to water." Evan nodded grimly. "We underestimated the strength of unfinished narratives." He unzipped the duffel, revealing a portable headset rig. "We can dive in, confront them directly. If we prove we're listening, maybe they'll release the hosts." It's not VR, Nora objected. These entities piggyback on neural patterns. Entering means giving them our minds. Someone has to volunteer. Nora thought of Cavan's glazed eyes, of Riley's pixelated exit, of archived pleas from mothers still dreaming of front porch reunions. She slipped the rig over her head. 4. The dive felt nothing like augmented reality. It was a tidal yank. She was standing on a suburban cul-de-sac that shimmered between seasons. Cherry blossoms flickered into fall leaves, then into Christmas lights strung across gutters. Each house bore different mailbox names, changing like subway ads. She recognized none until one label froze. HSU. The front door opened. Instead of her parents, a lanky woman emerged wearing Nora's own features, but older by a decade. Her expression was equal parts gratitude and exhaustion. "You finally came," the woman said. "We've waited so long." Behind her, a crowd poured from shifting doorways. Men, teenagers, grandmothers, tattooed bikers, toddlers in footy pajamas. Hundreds of missing persons coalesced into the street, each flickering with the last known outfit they were seen wearing. They formed a semicircle around Nora. "I'm only one person," Nora whispered. "Exactly," the older Nora replied. "One vessel. Let us in." Panic spiked through Nora's sternum. She understood the seduction. They wanted her to host them, to ride piggyback into the waking world, perhaps to navigate back to their origin, or at least taste fresh oxygen. But acquiring more hosts would escalate the crisis. She needed negotiation. "I can help search for you," she said, raising her voice. "But you must release the people you've already taken." A boy stepped forward, a gap where adult teeth should be. "Why would we trust you? The living forgot us." "Not all of us," Nora answered, surprising herself with steadiness. "One face was built to remember. We just overreached." From the throng emerged a balding man limping on a synthetic knee. "Find my sister Mara," he said. "Tell her I forgive her." Others shouted requests. A highway exit mile marker, a safe deposit box code, the name of a pet left at a shelter. The demands collided like hailstones until Nora could no longer distinguish voices. She squeezed her eyes shut and thought of the clean, rational corridors of the server room. She imagined drawing a boundary, a firewall powered not by code but deliberate compassion. When she opened her eyes, the crowd had stilled. "Here is my offer," she said. "I'll carry one of you, learn everything, and in exchange, you relinquish the hosts you're borrowing. I'll make your story heard." Murmurs rippled. Finally, the older version of herself nodded. "One for now, the first. Then, we'll judge your promise." A figure disentangled from the mass. A teenage girl in a basketball jersey. Her features were faintly familiar. Nora recalled seeing the photos scroll by during partner vetting. Name: Alondra Ruiz, missing from San Antonio 2017. Alondra stepped close until their foreheads nearly touched. "Are you ready?" she asked. "No," Nora admitted, "but I will be." When Nora's senses returned to the server room, Evan was gripping her shoulders. "Your vitals spiked. I almost yanked the feed. I'm fine," she said, though her voice now carried a Texan lilt. She felt memories not her own. A squeak of sneakers on gym floors, the smell of chili powder, the terror of headlights cresting a dark hill. Alondra nested behind her ribs like a second heartbeat. Evan's eyes widened. "You brought one back." "She's here willingly. In return, the entities will retreat." Nora pulled out her phone and refreshed the global incident channel. Reports were indeed subsiding. Hosts whose minds had been hijacked were regaining clarity, weeping, trying to piece together the lost hours. But the price of the truce was carved into Nora's marrow. She would have to live with Alondra's unfinished life until they uncovered her actual fate, and afterward, perhaps pass the mantle to another missing soul. A relay race of remembrance. "Let's get to work," she told Evan. 6. Over the next days, Nora, technically unemployed, operated from a borrowed co-working cubicle. Evan became her clandestine partner. They built an encrypted portal where the released personalities could deposit memories without possession. Families logged in, answered clarifying questions, tagged landmarks in old photographs, cross-referenced diaries. Volunteers formed translation brigades. Geolocation hobbyists tracked clues across satellite imagery. Nora's own nights were dominated by dream bleeds. Alondra replayed scenes like VHS, the argument with her stepfather, the impulsive sprint from the house, the pickup truck slowing beside her. Nora woke, drenched in panic. But each flash supplied coordinates and details they fed into a private detective's queue. One afternoon, while reviewing traffic camera archives, Nora found the truck. A rusted maroon Ford turning onto Ranch Road 12 at 10:37 p.m., minutes after Alondra vanished, plate number visible. The detective forwarded it to state police. They raided a storage unit outside Austin where they found Alondra's jacket and a notebook containing the address of a ranch. A week later, cadaver dogs located remains in caliche soil behind the ranch's barn. DNA confirmed identity. The news broke Nora's mind open. Sorrow, relief, gratitude from Alondra cascading like rain inside her. For the first time since the possession, Nora felt her passenger's grip loosen. On the day of the burial, Nora flew to San Antonio. She stood beside Alondra's mother, who held her so tightly it bruised Nora's shoulders. After the ceremony, Nora walked alone to a pecan tree on the cemetery's edge. "Thank you," Alondra's voice whispered, fading like dusk light. "You're free," Nora replied, tears soaking the collar of her coat. 7 months passed. Mirror Me recovered under new leadership. One Face, re-engineered with strict safeguards, became a tool families could consent to, summoning likenesses in moderated sessions rather than viral selfies. Authorities credited the initiative with closing 312 cases, nor declined formal accolades. She preferred the quieter work of the Portal, now a nonprofit called EchoSpoke that she and Eben co-founded. Each time a case resolved, Nora felt a tiny vacancy open inside her, as though rows of theater seats were being cleaned after the credits rolled. Yet there were always new occupants waiting, unanswered posters, unsolved flight manifests, forgotten foster kids. She began carrying a slim journal where she wrote their messages in tidy bullet points. "Find locker 31A. Tell mom I passed chemistry. Look under floorboard near hearth." Occasionally, stepping onto a subway platform or smelling rain on hot asphalt, she would sense another presence eyeing the doorway to her consciousness. She never opened it willingly. The truce required respect. Instead, she noted the pull and scheduled a moderated intake session, guiding the entity into the digital pen where volunteers waited. One autumn night, Kevin visited her apartment, now wallpapered with maps and string. He brought takeout and trepidation. "You still okay, sis?" he asked after they ate. "Sometimes you stare past me, like you're tuning into a different station." "I'm more than okay," Nora said. "I'm accompanied." He nodded, though worry lingered. "Do you ever wish you could just log out?" Nora considered. If I hadn't logged in, Alondra's mom would still be waiting at the porch window. Francisco's daughter wouldn't have her medicine. The teacher's savings might never have reached that family in El Salvador. Kevin exhaled. "So, you'll keep letting them in?" "Someone has to." She squeezed his hand. "I've learned boundaries. No more abrupt possessions. Only stories shared, not stolen." As he left, the hallway swallowed his steps and silence settled. Nora stood before the full-length mirror by her door. Her reflection looked ordinary, dark hair loose around her shoulders, under-eye circles, hoodie spattered with highlighter ink. Yet she knew thousands of reflections shimmered beneath, like holographic layers. She imagined them not as ghosts or parasites, but as passengers on a bus, trusting her with the route. She raised her phone, opened the latest stable version of One Face, now rebranded EchoLens, and toggled to admin mode. A prompt appeared. "Ready to begin next session?" She thought of the cul-de-sac of shifting houses, of the crowd gathering patience like rain in clouds. She thought of how fragile a person's continuity could be, vaporized by a moment's negligence, yet preserved in leftover data, hoping for someone to click accept. Nora tapped yes. The screen brightened, and somewhere a missing voice found its way home.